Hi guys, I am here to do the math comparison video. My house is pretty loud because it's too hot to be outside, and kids are getting cranky and they're doing dominoes right now and Legos. So if it gets a little loud, I will stop and try this again. But I have had so many troubles making this video in the past couple weeks. It is crazy. I'm starting to think I should not do a math comparison video. Math isn't my main subject, so maybe I shouldn't be. Just kidding. But anyway, so I'll be comparing Math Mammoth, CLE, and Saxon. I do not have any Saxon books to show you. I got rid of my Saxon books quite a while ago when I realized we would not be going back to it. So, but since I've used it, I wanted to just compare it in the categories that I'm having for Math Mammoth, CLE, and Saxon, just in case some of you are thinking about it and you just want to see how it compares. So, first things, my air conditioner kicked on and this page wants to just go flying through the room. First thing I wanted to say, just to be upfront with you guys to know where I'm coming from, I've used CLE for quite a few years. My daughter used it from 4th grade all the way through the end of 8th grade. We switched her in 9th grade to Life of Fred. But, so I have 4 years using CLE. Saxon I used for 1 year, not even a full year. I guess we switched to CLE in the middle of 3rd grade. So I have about a year with Saxon, but before my daughter was homeschooled, she was in public school and they used Saxon. So I'm familiar with it. Math Mammoth, I am sort of still in the honeymoon stage. I think I'm kind of coming out of it. But I think with any new curriculum, you get it in the mail, you're like, ooh, new curriculum, you're excited about the way it approaches a subject. You're excited about, all these things that drew you to it to begin with. And then after some use, you see, and it doesn't matter what program or what curriculum you're using. They all have their ups and downs. So we're still we're at the end of that honeymoon stage where we see all the good stuff. But we're starting to see, I'm not going to call them cons, but we're just starting to see the good and the bad. So just to be honest with you on where we are on that and how much I know about each program. I have TI up here on Saxon and Math Mammoth because they are both much more teacher intensive than CLE in completely different ways. Well, first of all, CLE is very, very, very open and go. They have these little light units and a teacher's guide. And I will say in 2nd grade, or this is 1st grade, but in 1st grade, I'm guessing 2nd grade, you do need the teacher's guide. When you get to, I don't know that I ever bought it for my daughter, so 4th grade and up, I just had the grading, or the answer keys. I didn't have the teacher's guides for those, and maybe they're helpful to some people. I didn't see a need for it. She was able, and math is not her strong subject, but she was able to just open the little light units. All the instructions for her were in here, and she was able to complete her lessons without any additional help 95% of the time. So there was really very little for me to do. Saxon was much more teacher intensive. I was sitting there with her, teaching her lessons from the teacher's manual. And in addition to that, there was a lot that I was having to teach her in a different way. The way Saxon taught just didn't jive with her. So I was either having to teach her how I learned, or I was having to find extra resources online. Sometimes we used Khan Academy, sometimes we used YouTube, but I was having to dig around and find extra resources, or just teach her my way. And then she would catch on, but Saxon's way of teaching just did not work for her. Math Mammoth is teacher intensive in a couple different ways. There is no teacher's guide, so all of the instructions are in the workbook, but I am finding I am having to sit and kind of really go through them. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, especially in 2nd grade. I'm just letting you know that's how it is. And in addition to that, she has this really handy thing at the beginning of each chapter where she gives you resources online for extra practice. And that is really nice. But it does add some work for the teacher. And as you know, with the internet, things change. So just because she has a link that worked Okay, just because the link worked when she printed this doesn't mean it's going to work, at the time that you're using it. So they have to be checked. And sometimes they're not going to work for your child or, so you just have to kind of go through them. So it just adds a little bit of teacher preparation. And these are all optional. You do not have to use them. And since I have not used the upper grades of Math Mammoth, I cannot tell you for sure how long it takes with this program before they're pretty much independent. I will say that at 4th grade CLE, my daughter's pretty independent in math. And like I said, math is not her strong subject, but it did a great job teaching. The other little thing I have up here is secular, Christian, and secular. CLE is Christian. However, I am going to say, I put a little asterisk up here. We watched a video, Code of Creation, the Creation Code. I will link to it in the description bar. It is really, really amazing. My 2nd grader sat there just riveted, and he even got out some notebook paper and started doing math. But it really shows how math is the language of God, and it talks about math and apologetics, and it's even more better than teaching CLE, in my opinion, from a Christian curriculum, because it shows math through a Christian worldview. It doesn't just add a little bit of Christianity or some Bible verses or family-oriented and family-centered word problems. It really shows how math shows God and how we can see math through the lens of Jesus. And it's just amazing. And you could use that with any math curriculum. And I say especially even Math Mammoth, because Math Mammoth teaches math in a very language of math kind of way. It shows the pattern of math. It shows helps kids learn the language of math rather than learning how to solve a problem. Saxon teaches you how to solve the problems. CLE teaches you how to solve the problems. Probably most do. That's how I learned. But Math Mammoth really teaches you to look for patterns in math, look for how math works, rather than this is how we solve this problem, this is how we solve the next problem. And I love that about Math Mammoth. In fact, that's probably my favorite thing about it. So you could really tie that in with this video and some of his other videos. He has several. And teach kids that we can see math through the lens of Christianity. And that's really cool. Sorry, we're playing a little chocolate game here, and that's the best kind of game, except it's not real chocolate. Okay, so Math Mammoth is pretty challenging. It is one of the reasons I picked Math Mammoth and switched my 2nd grader from CLE to Math Mammoth. He is very math-minded, and he needed something that was going to challenge him a little bit more than CLE was. So, I'm not saying if you have a child who is struggling that it's not one to try, because like I said, it does have sort of a different approach to teaching math, and that might be helpful for some children who are struggling. But yeah, definitely just a little bit more challenging. The word problems are much more challenging than in CLE. It makes you actually think through things a little bit more. Oops, I skipped the next one. This one. I will get right back to it. CLE is a very gentle math curriculum. It teaches slowly. It teaches in a friendly manner. There's I'm going to say if you have a child that stresses about math, CLE, like I put 2 T's in gentle. Oh my goodness. Somebody must have interrupted me while I was writing, or I was very tired. But, yeah. Ooh, yum. But, so, and Saxon is challenging. And to compare these two, I like to compare it to a doctor. CLE, I say, is a really good doctor. Yeah, with a really good bedside manner. He is friendly and helpful, and when he tells you something, you leave understanding what he said and just feeling like you were heard and that everything was explained to you in a way that you can go and move on. And Saxon, I say, is like a doctor, a really good doctor with not a great bedside manner. It's not, friendly is probably not the right word, because I don't think learning needs to be friendly. Okay, so I'm getting interrupted, but that's okay. So anyway, Saxon is like a doctor with not a great bedside manner. He may be a great doctor. You have confidence that he knows what he's doing, but yet when he talks to you, you're like, I'm not positive I understood that, but I know they know what they're talking about. And so that makes it kind of challenging. It made it very challenging for my daughter to kind of get a handle on it, and it just wasn't a good fit for her. Okay, so Math Mammoth is mastery. So each chapter is going to cover a different topic, and there's really not a lot of that I've seen review. So like, yeah, that's cool. Let's go to the go put it on the table. So chapter 1 is some old, some new, because obviously it's the first beginning, so they're just kind of reviewing. Chapter 2 is clock. 3, addition and subtraction facts. There's some review and fact families, number rainbows, regrouping and addition, geometry and fractions. So everything's really separated into topics. Let me see what's in 2 so you can see. This is 3-digit numbers, measuring, regrouping, and money. Oops, there's one more chapter in there. Multiplication. So everything's separated. And I have seen some people on the Facebook page, there's a Math Mammoth Facebook page, who make it spiral by doing lesson 1 in chapter 1, then lesson 1 in chapter 2, then lesson 3 in chapter 3, or lesson 1 in chapter 3, you get the pattern, lesson 1 in chapter 4, lesson 1, and then they go back and do the second lesson in every chapter. So it's more of a spiral to help keep that review. We have not done that. It may be something that I look into when we get to later grades, or if he's having trouble, because I do like that option, because then they're getting enough review to keep it fresh. But again, that's what some of these extra resources could be used for, if you need to keep them reviewing specific topics. So that's mastery. CLE is a very gentle spiral. It's a very slow spiral. So you're learning a new concept, and here I'll show you real quick inside of here. We did not do 110. We finished the year with some family emergencies, and so I called it. My high schooler couldn't quite do that as easily, but my second grader, or he was in his first grade year, I'm like, we're done. So they learn a new fact, and then everything in the top part, or this is just the first page, some of it's the top part, is, well, this they can usually do on their own, and then they have the things they need to do with you. And then, I can do this. The I can do this section was my favorite part, and now that we're not doing it, I am kind of bummed. This is when I would either go make my coffee, I would go fold some clothes, switch the laundry, which reminds me I have a load in the washer that needs to go in the dryer. I would go and do, something, load the dishwasher, because when you get to the I can do this, it's all review and everything. The instructions are on here, so they know what to do. They don't need any help from you. Like the ones up front, they don't always need help, but it's usually stuff that you have to help with. Like this might not, but like things they're not supposed to have totally down. And then right here, it's obviously something that you're going to have to say the number. So, but the I can do this, you should be able to get to the I can do this page, and they can do the rest of the lesson all on their own. So that's really nice. I loved that about this. Even at this young age, I could sort of walk away. Though my son's, he doesn't do anything slowly, so it didn't give me much time, but it did give me a little bit of time. And that's great. So all that I can do this is all review. So they're going over everything they've learned so far and practicing it. It's like that from the beginning to the end. And so it's a very gentle spiral with a lot of review. Saxon is also a spiral, and it has tons of review and tons of review. When we did Saxon, we skipped some of the review because it was overkill. I mean, my daughter needs a lot of repetition in math. It was one of the things that we found out very early on, like with long division. Even if we had a long weekend, she usually needed help to get her back onto the track with long division. It does not stick in her head until she's done it over and over and over. So even though I'm not a big fan of drill and kill, she really needed a lot of drilling. But Saxon can just really put the kill in drill and kill. Okay, so pages with a lot of work. Here I'm going to, like, the layout. I have Math Mammoth, the black and white edition from Rainbow Resource. They also have a color edition, and you can get the download from the Math Mammoth page. Excuse me. So you can either print it in color or black and white. So I do want to let you know that. There is no color in my version. Let's get past the clocks. But you can see there is a lot of work. I'll explain why we have some empty pages here in a bit. But there is a lot of work on the pages. Like, this would be so overwhelming for me. Hey, Coop Coop. Oh, shh. I know you're singing. There's a lot of work on each page. For me, it would be overwhelming. I'm not a math person, so seeing this much math that I had to do, I'd be like, what? And I'd be done before I even started. But I figured with my son, we haven't run into any problems. He hasn't had any issues with this. Okay, sorry, snacks to save the day. But anyway, I figured if he did have a problem with it, and like I said, he hasn't so far, I could like get some big Post-it notes and just cover up parts of the page until he gets to them, or use some washi tape and just kind of block things off, just to kind of separate it, or some gel pens or something just to kind of separate the pages, or to add color where there was color. I don't know if any of this is in color, but I know when you see something, like these little boxes, I'm pretty sure these are like blue in the color versions. So you're gonna have, and it probably visually does help, like this would be a different color other than gray, but so far we haven't run into any issues. And that's something I can highlight, you know, or whatever. I wasn't too worried about that. Now, CLE in comparison, if you look at one of their pages, everything is very much spread out. There's not too much on each page. That's the test. And there's lots of visual space, so it doesn't feel overwhelming. It doesn't feel like there's as much there as maybe there is. So that to me is a plus with CLE. You know, and depending on your child, that might be a plus or may not be. Okay. And then Saxon was kind of in between. There was not as much space in Saxon as there was here, but there also wasn't as much loaded onto each page as there is in Math Mammoth. Okay, I am ready for fall and be able to throw the kids outside for the day. We are taking September off, so that'll be really nice. It's just too hot right now to be outside, so we might as well do school, right? Okay. So I mentioned a bit about Math Mammoth, teaching the language of math. I'll show you inside here in just a second about that. And then CLE and Saxon are more traditional, and they just builds concept upon concept upon concepts and teaches you how to answer the problems, teaches you the, how to find a solution, which is really the way I was taught, and the way my daughter has always done math. Let's see if I can find an example. Clocks, not so much. Okay. I'm not gonna be able to find it. Let me pause it. Okay, so I found one of the pages, and it's really in here a lot, but you know, when you're trying to find something is when you can't. Okay, here it shows. Is this not focusing, or is it my contacts not focusing? Okay, so anyway, it isn't focusing. Sorry about that, guys. It was driving you nuts. And see, it says, notice what pattern it makes. And then it says, continue the pattern. So a lot of times it'll teach a new concept, and it'll ask to, oh, here's another one, notice the pattern. And so it's teaching you how math works. It teaches you to understand the language. Notice the pattern is here again. So, like today, my son loves to push himself in math. He loves to challenge himself in math. So I was giving him some double row addition that was a little bit different, where you have to, or double row subtraction, where you have to borrow. And he did a 2-row one. And then I did a 3-row one, and then I did like an 8-row subtraction. And I said, watch for the pattern. And I got about halfway through, and he said, I see it. I see the pattern. And I said, once you know the pattern, you can do as many rows as you want, as you have patience for, or whatever. And it's all the same. And he saw that really early on. And I think that's because he's been learning. And not even very long. We're only in chapter 2, but he's learning to see the patterns, learning to read the language of math. And I love that. And I don't know, because math was not my thing. So I don't know if I would be interested to see a child who struggles with math, if that would be really helpful, or if it would be, you know, more difficult. But I love that. I think it's really great to teach that. Now, oh, and let me show you the rainbows, if I can find them. Math rainbows. They're in here somewhere. There we go. Here's some. Okay. So it shows number rainbows, and maybe you're familiar with them. This is the first I've seen them. And it has like the number 11, and here's the rainbow. 0 plus 11 is 11, 1 plus 10, 2 plus 9, 3 plus 8, 4 plus 7, 5 plus 6. And it shows you that the odds have a little arc in the middle, and the evens have a little line, and the middle number is going to be doubled. And then they get to do it on their own. And this would be in color too, if you have the color version. But I think that's really, really neat. I've always been fascinated with the language of math, even though I hate math. So maybe that's partly why I like it. I love watching like shows where they show this huge math problem on the board with all kinds of letters, and it's, you know, and they're, you know, people look at it and they just sort of understand what it means and what it stands for and all that. I find that fascinating, even though I can't do it and really have no interest in doing it because I hate math. But anyway, okay, so we skipped a few lessons, and I will explain why. She has I don't know what they call it. It's in the Common Core type math. And this is, she did add these lessons from what I've read to make it accessible for people who needed to use Common Core. So anyway, it's driving me absolutely bonkers that this won't focus. So, anyway, it teaches to, like, from 9, you add 1 and you get 10. So then instead of 9 plus 4, you do 10 plus 3. We did it once to see if, you know, my son liked it, or if it was, and it's not that he didn't, but he didn't love it. And then when we went and turned the page and did this, and he saw, oh, it was this one up here. Focus phone. Okay, and he saw the pattern. Again, there's the pattern. When you add a number to 9, it's 1 less. That is a 3, not a 2, by the way. When you add 9 to anything, you add a 10, and it's 1 less. That pattern, he got right away, and it made sense to him. Clicked in his brain. This, not so much. And unless we need to do some sort of testing that's going to include some Common Core type problems, we will not. So I just skipped these. He's really good with addition. He doesn't have all his basic facts memorized, so that's probably something we will do in a game. And we may do this just because I think it's cool. Because, it, again, you sort of see patterns. Adding 7s, adding 8s, and adding 9s. But I saw no point in doing those silly base 10 problems. Here it is for subtraction. 5. I didn't even read this, so I'm not even going to try, but to go through the instructions now. But anyway, we skipped that, and I'm good with that. But anyway, here's the, and we'll probably skip I don't even know. What's this? Oh, think how far apart the two numbers are from each other. We did that, and that was really cool. That was the number line work. And we did it, you can see, we did some things on the number line, and that clicked with them also. But just those 10s. So I just wanted to let you know why we had empty pages going through here. And a lot of the clockwork we did out loud, orally, as opposed to writing it down. And the calendar work as well. He just told me. Okay. Now, where were we? Okay, so Christian Light, CLE, is just going to teach a new thing. So, like, new facts, 16 minus 9, 16 minus 7 are going to be your 2 new facts that you learn and work on. And that's really the only new thing in this lesson. And see, new facts, 8 plus 8, 16 minus 8. So it's much more gentle, and it's pretty straightforward. I don't have second grade to compare, but it's basically traditional, building upon concepts. And Saxon is like that as well. Okay, so Math Mammoth, I put open and go only for some students, because a lot of students are going to need these extra resources to help them solidify concepts or to practice throughout the year, unless you find a way to make it spiral, like I said, doing a lesson out of each chapter, as opposed to going chapter to chapter. Okay, so you know, and then you have to kind of find these. And like I said, the only really difficult thing about this is just and it's not difficult, but it's just making sure that those links still work. And maybe some of them your child won't like, or you know, prefer a different type of approach. So that adds a little bit of time. But other than that, it is completely open and go. There's no teacher's manual. You just go right from page to page through this. CLE was completely open and go. We almost never had to use extra resources or any type of extra supplement. Saxon is also open and go, except for the fact that, like I said, for my daughter, it did not teach her very well, so I was having to go and search for extra resources. If Saxon had links in it, I might have found it easier and not gotten so frustrated, but I was having to go and search for good resources. But for some students who learn the way Saxon teaches, and obviously Saxon's very popular, so a lot of children probably do learn very well from their instructions. And for them, it will be definitely open and go. Everything that you need to find will be in the teacher's manual or in the student book. And that's that. So if you have any questions or want to see anything close up, you can let me know in the comment section. I will answer all those questions. And like I said, don't forget to check out that math video. Oop, here, I'll show you real quick. Sorry, I guess I didn't mention that. CLE has speed drills. So after every lesson, you do a speed drill. And my son likes challenges, so these encouraged him and challenged him, and he loved it and he got excited. Instead of giving him a number to do in a minute because he was doing them faster than that, we just did how long it took him, and we put the time here. But if your child is not motivated by challenges or challenging themselves, then I didn't find these, necessary. There's other ways you can practice your math facts to get them memorized. But anyway, that's that. So don't forget to check out that video in the description bar and let me know what questions you have. And we will see you next time, guys. Happy homeschooling.